everybody, this is Marr here, and I hope you're having a good day today so far. I want to talk to you about anime and how it relates to me and, well, just Japanese animation as a whole. Now, I'm not what would you call a hardcore anime fan. I will consider myself more as a casual viewer of anime. I mean, granted, years ago when I was really young, I used to watch a lot of different animes like the original Pokemon series. Most of my anime viewing when I was young was mostly on Toonami, when that was on Cartoon Network. I don't think they do Toonami anymore on the program, but back then in like the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, they had shows like Zoids, Yu Yu Hakusho, and of course Dragon Ball, both the original and Z. And that was my start to watching anime. I did watch other shows throughout my childhood, like I know I liked the original Fullmetal Alchemist, Bleach. I did used to watch, and I actually got to participate in a anime club at high school, even though it wasn't really so much of a club as it was just having like 60, 70 people in one classroom just talking about anime. We didn't really do much club activities or participate in like school programmings. It was an odd time to say the least. But nowadays, I don't really watch a whole lot of anime, and I've been slowly getting back to it because there was a little bit of moment in my life where I was a bit afraid of watching anime. And the reason why I want to say that is because a lot of you who are familiar with my videos know that I am a Christian. I've been following Jesus, walking down the narrow path to heaven for a very long time and taking it seriously over the years. But there are some things revolving anime, and I'm not saying that anime is evil, of course not. It's an art form, much like American film and animation, video games, books, and so, you know, as an art form, there's also got to be some stuff in it that I think for a lot of Christians that we need to keep a close eye on. As a Christian, there's an ongoing battle going on between the Holy Spirit and our flesh. And these two things are constantly at war with each other. And it's so much like if you see something provocative on television, your flesh reacts to that, like, I want to see more of that because of the lust of the eyes. And the Holy Spirit is trying to convict you. It's like you don't want to feed more, because if you watch more of that stuff, the more you feed, the more you're quenching the Holy Spirit, and the more that it just gets ingrained in your subconscious. And the reason why I'm saying that is because one of the things that is very hard for me to watch anime is how sometimes not saying all anime, but close to a good chunk of popular animes, both film and television, that you see nowadays have a lot of fan service in them. The women are drawn in a very well done. Like, I'm not saying that we should have strictly ugly anime women, no, because beauty is different for a lot of people. And I know when it comes to anime women, when manga artists or animators draw Japanese women, they look beautiful, they look so breathtaking, but also to the point where, combined with the fan service, that it kind of distracts you, and it doesn't help the fact that whenever you think of anime, at least for mature people, they also think of the, I don't know really what way to say it, but the hentai stuff. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that going on, and as a Christian, it becomes a distraction, because that is a personal weakness I have, is the lustfulness of how whenever you see an anime woman when they're in scampy clothing, or whenever they are in a very seductive look to them, that it just attracts my eyes, and it causes me to think stuff, and also causes me to want to look at more images, whether it being someone cosplaying as a character or someone drawing them in a very seductive way. And I've been guilty of that for many, many years. And I know I mentioned this to a lot of my friends and family, and the response that I seem to get a lot is that I'm a guy, it's natural, it's cool, you don't have to worry about it. And while I know that is true, that I am a guy and it is natural to be attracted to the opposite sex, but that doesn't give us the right to sin. That doesn't mean it gives us a pass to continue doing that habitually as a cardinal sinner. You know, you can't be a Christian and live in a repetitive sinful lifestyle and enjoying it. It's impossible. And it comes to the point where whenever someone tells me that it's okay to do that, it's like a part of me just feels a little angry a bit, because yes, it is a natural desire to, you know, want to be with a woman, but not in the way that my mind thinks. I don't want my mind to constantly think about being with a woman, fictional or real, 24/7. That bottle scared the crap out of me. And think about it throughout the time. Even if it's just like, if I'm having a casual talk, like, okay, good example here. Like recently I watched the anime My Dress Up Darling. I went up to episode 7, I think it was, and it's a good show. But the main character, Marlene, with her persona and how she is designed, especially with the cosplay where she's dressed as Soskatano. I can't pronounce her the maid's name. I suck with Japanese names, I apologize. One day last week, when I watched it a good chunk of My Dress Up Darling, I started thinking about fantasizing myself being with Marlene. Whether it be like talking to her teasing me, and then getting to those lustful moments where I'm kissing her or doing some other stuff. And I will admit, like, before I went to bed, I was just grieved by the Holy Spirit, because I just thought about that so much. It's one thing if I thought about it for like a little bit or something, but to think about it throughout the entire day, and I haven't watched the rest of the series. It's not because I'm saying it's a bad anime. It's quite good, but the way that Marlene acts and is drawn and how cheeky she could be, it just messes with my mind. And that's very important for Christians, is to be careful what we watch and consume. And while that is a separate video I want to make somewhere down the line, hopefully sometime soon, it's definitely true with anime, because even with the fan service and the seductiveness of how they draw the women in anime, there's also a lot of anime that are very gory. Like, you see a lot of intense anime where you see organs cut up, and granted, it definitely depends on the person. Like, there's some people that can handle a lot of more mature content, and then others who can't. In fact, there's a whole chapter in the book of Romans, chapter 14, that talks about Christians who have weaker faiths compared to those who are stronger faiths. Like, one person can handle eating meat, while another feels more comfortable just eating vegetables. And that's something that you have to consider. Like, there are people, and like, you know who you are. Some people can handle watching a fan service anime and it doesn't affect them at the slightest. And then you get people like me who are easily tempted to that stuff, and it just falls us into weakness. And whether or not that a lot of the people, when they try to make these animes, making them as gory as possible or as sexy as possible, I'm sure with some of them, they know what they're doing, and then others, it wasn't their intention to draw a crowd in such a way. And so really is something, as a Christian, I have to be mindset of that. I have to be very careful what I watch and how much I consume. And for a while, I kind of forbid myself from watching anime because I was afraid of what will happen. Like, if I see a woman in a Japanese anime and she's designed in a scampy outfit or drawn seductively, how that will affect me. And I know a lot of people will comment about a certain franchise that I was a fan of, and while I do want to admit that, well, that is for a different video entirely, I haven't played any of the games or watched the anime of Hyperdimension Neptunia for about 2 years now, and I gave my complete series box set to my good friend NBC Mekachu just because I was easily tempted. And I'm not saying that Neptunia is a bad series, because I still have fond memories with the characters, and I still got like that compa fan art, and I'll still maybe mention it once in a while, but I had to kind of stop watching Neptunia because of how nowadays it's getting closer to where it's more focused on the fan service, especially with the community in a way, and I had to distance myself because I was getting obsessed with it. Because of that, I have to be very careful with watching anime. But that doesn't mean I've stopped, because I don't want to just say, oh, all anime are bad, because that'll be very judgmental. And while there are a lot of dangerous programs out there, I think there's definitely a lot of shows that a lot of Christians shouldn't watch, or a lot of people should be very mindful of what they're watching. That doesn't mean I'm going to exclude, because I love the art form of Japanese animation. There's so many wonderful stories and characters and so many beautiful scenery that we've seen. Like, I think we can all agree that the Studio Ghibli movies absolutely incredible. They are so beautiful and breathtaking, and every film just has something special for everyone. One of my all-time favorites is Kiki's Delivery Service. And of course, I also love Howl's Moving Castle, but Kiki's Delivery Service has a special place in my heart. I love the visual aspects of it, the storytelling, seeing Kiki going through the Phil Hartman cat, who I actually have a little guest plastic figure of still on my shelf, so that's, I don't know if that says much, but yeah, I just love that. And I guess since I'm talking about animes I love, I want to talk a little bit about several shows or several animes that I love, and well, yeah, just boast about them, I guess. One anime that I've talked about a couple years ago is Rilakkuma Kaoru. I still love that. It's one of my all-time favorite Netflix shows. It's probably the one that I will admit I've probably watched the most. I mean, there's a lot of great shows on Netflix, like Hilda, Erixco, Green Eggs and Ham, that's another good one. But Rilakkuma Kaoru, I've watched that, the whole series, like maybe 6 or 7 times back to back. It's the show that if I'm having a very rough week at work or a rough day, I can easily turn it on and it just helps relaxes me. I know some people may not like Rilakkuma Kaoru because the pacing is slow, not a whole lot of stuff goes on, but it's just a cute, wholesome show that's so full of life, and definitely made me a big fan of Rilakkuma. I actually have 2 other animes on Netflix that I really love. One of them is Violet Evergarden. It is such an emotional journey, seeing Violet going through her journey from finding her former commander, knowing what love is, and the whole journey of like how she affects other people through when she delivers letters or helping typing letters for people. It is such a wonderful journey, and you just feel a wonderful connection with Violet, along with the other people at the post office, with the memory dolls, and the people that she comes across with on her journey. Is such an incredible emotional adventure that I highly recommend anyone watch, and it has some of the most amazing animated cinematography. Like, there's one episode that I really love. I don't want to say it because I don't want to give away spoilers, but if you ever get a chance, do watch Violet Evergarden on Netflix. It is wonderful. Another anime on Netflix that I really love is Little Witch Academia. Now, I may not be a huge fan of the animation studio who's behind for like Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill. This is probably the only one I will say that I can watch over and over again, because I'm not really big into like mech animes. Or Kill la Kill, obviously, like what I mentioned about the fan service and how they are drawn and dressed and everything. But Little Witch Academia I love because it's a show that anyone in any age can enjoy. A young child can watch it and love it, and so can an adult. I love Ako's great personality. She is so positive and full of life, And granted, she doesn't have any magic and she's constantly mocked by a lot of the students there, but she tries and she has this great endurance and perseverance of keep going to become like Shining... crap, what was her name again? I haven't watched Little Witch Academia in about a year or two. Even though I still love the series, but it's been a while since I rewatched the entirety, so I'm a little bit off on what the character's name was. Shiny Chariot. I love watching Akko's great journey to become a great witch like Shining Chariot. That's the name that I was looking for. I need to rewatch the anime because it's so good. It really is. And like the animation itself also is wonderful. It feels like sort of a Japanese animation that's trying to capture the style of Western animation. And I say that because like if you look at every character, they have different design eyes, different color hair and style that gives them each a different look. And the animation expressions are different and it is beautifully animated. Like I can totally see the studio make like a Japanese Ren and Stimpy and they would be spot on with it because of how well the animators do. And I love the journey and it's just a really fun, creative and lighthearted adventure that I highly recommend anyone who likes like witches or magic or positive character personas like Molly McGee, for example. I highly recommend watching Little Witch Academia. Plus, Akko's she's just a fun character. I love her energy. Probably the most famous anime that will be mentioned in this list that I love is Lupin the Third. He's been around for so long, and I've recently discovered or recently got into Lupin back last year. Roughly around the time when the Lupin the Third, the first movie, the CGI movie, came out for English dub. Before the movie came out, I saw the trailers for it and I was like, oh wow, that looks really cool, and I wanted to learn more about Lupin, you know, to be prepared to watch the movie. And oh boy, it feels definitely overwhelming because Lupin has such a huge legacy in Japanese animation. There are so many different shows, movies, a history in his manga. It's such a huge history to a point where I was a bit overwhelmed to figure out where do I start with him. But luckily, you could kind of start anywhere, as the whole series, you can pretty much jump into any episode or movie, or at least jump into any show in the Lupin, like whether you start in part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the woman called Fujiko, part 5, 6, you could just jump into any season and immediately get the concept of what Lupin really is. About this famous criminal, along with his friends Jigen, Goemon, and Fujiko, going on these heists of trying to steal something, while Inspector Zettigata is trying to capture Lupin. It's just a timeless story. And the great thing about it is that the characters can stay the same and they could go on unlimited adventure possibilities. Like, there are so many great stories about Lupin and so many adventures that it's kind of like with Doctor Who, where you could put Doctor Who in any time period whatsoever and just come up with amazing stories to do with him. And that's the same with Lupin. Currently, the ones I've seen so far is the CGI movie, the one that Miyazaki directed. And in terms of the shows, I am on episode 13 of part 2, which is the only one that I've noticed so far that is English dub. I believe part 1 is getting an English dub on a DVD box set this month. I can't remember. But I really love the adventures of Lupin. These next two animes that I'm gonna mention, I sort of indirectly mentioned them in my videos. One of them is Azamaga Daiho. And this one, I did a joke back in one of my Thomas and Friends meets. And the reason is because, well, it's a funny show. It's actually the show that actually made me love the slice of life formula in anime, where there's no big action scenes or deep plot devices going on. It's just seeing a group of characters in their day-to-day lives, and it's something that really helped me shape of what I wanted Thomas Meeple Railway to be. A sort of slice of life, a series, even though there's a bunch of hijinks ensue. But it's something that made me really love the slice of life formula, and something that I want to look for more in anime is for that type of format, the slice of life format. I love seeing these group of characters, each with their own unique personality, their own running gag, and seeing them just going through these different adventures through their high school lives. It's just incredible. And not everything is laugh out loud funny, but it's also sometimes where you get these heartfelt moments. For example, there's a part where, for those who don't know, there's a character named Chio-chan, who is a 10-year-old who got into high school because she's so smart. But because of her being in high school, she doesn't get a chance to be with friends in her age group. And there was an episode where Sakaki is with her dog and Chio-chan, and they go to the park, and Chio-chan feels, you know, like she's missing some childhood essence. And you see Sakaki, I can't remember the exact details of how it went. They go to the playground late in the evening, and where they find this jump rope, and Chio-chan is on the jump rope, and you see Sakaki and the dog just swinging the jump rope around, and it's a really heartfelt moment there. And those moments happen a couple times, and those moments you just feel attached with the characters. This last anime I want to mention is another one that I sort of mentioned indirectly in my videos, as I use the music from it a lot recently, and that is Nichiju, My Ordinary Life. To describe what this is, think Azamaga Daiho, but directed by Tex Avery. Or at least that's the best way I can describe it. It is an insane anime that's in that slice of life format, but the way that the voice actors record their lines, the way that events unfold, and how everything is like in this cutesy little high school slice of life to just being in epic, very hilarious ways. It's just beautiful. And it also has 3 of my favorite characters that I absolutely enjoyed watching whenever they appear on screen. And that's the scenes with Nanu, who's a robot because she has this little corkscrew on her back, and it's just an adorable design. The professor, who's an 8-year-old who created Nanu, but is also an 8-year-old, so she can be a little stubborn, selfish at times. And then there's Sakamoto, a cat that can talk thanks to this handkerchief that the professor made. And he's sort of like the mature one trying to look after Nanu and the professor. Whenever I see these 3 on screen, it's a combination of adorableness, heartfelt, and just hilarious, because Nano, shut up, phone! Nano wants the corkscrew from her back to be removed, but the professor keeps holding it off and teasing, and it's hilarious. It's a really funny anime, and definitely bonkers. I'm sure there's a couple of years who've seen like clips of like the principal wrestling with the deer, or whenever you see Mio and her unique drawing talent. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a funny series, and there's a lot of other animes that I want to watch and get into. Like, I know I want to watch War Lupin. Obviously, I mean, there's a huge history. I mean, I'm gonna be here for like a year trying to catch up with all the dang Lupin stuff, and heck, they announced their part 6 recently, which means it's gonna take a while to catch up with that man. But that's about all the time I have for today, folks, because I'm getting really hungry and my stomach is about to cause World War V if I do not get something to eat. So in the comment section below, let me know if you guys have any favorite anime shows. If any of you actually have the same problem I have, where you have to be cautious of what anime you watch because of the way of how some animes have been with the increase in fan service in some shows, let me know, because I hope I'm not the only one, because it is a struggle with some people when it comes to certain programs. And hopefully, I hope I'm not the only one. So thank you guys for watching this video. God bless you all. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!